May 1st, 2010, 4:51 a.m. A 911 dispatcher in Suffolk County receives a call that will haunt the department for decades. On the other end is 24-year-old Shannon Gilbert. She isn't just crying. She is speaking in a frantic, rhythmic whisper. "They are trying to kill me," she says over and over. For 23 minutes, the line remains open. You can hear her running. You can hear her knocking on doors in the gated community of Oak Beach. You can hear the silence of the marsh swallowing her whole. Shannon was an escort who had traveled from Jersey City to meet a client, but something went wrong. She fled into the tall, razor-sharp reeds of the Long Island wetlands and vanished. The police dismissed it. They called it a drug-induced panic. They figured she'd wash up in a few days. They had no idea that Shannon Gilbert was the canary in the coal mine. She was the sacrifice that would reveal a graveyard. 7 months later, Officer John Malia and his cadaver dog, Blue, are conducting a training exercise along Ocean Parkway. They aren't even looking for Shannon, but Blue stops. He sniffs a thicket of brambles and salt hay. Malia reaches down and finds a skeletal hand. But it's not Shannon. As the police widen the search, the horror becomes geometric. Every few hundred feet, they find another and another. The Gilgo Four. Maureen Brainerd Barnes, missing since 2007. Melissa Barthélemy, missing since 2009. Megan Waterman, missing since 2010. Amber Lynn Costello, missing since 2010. They were all young women, and most chillingly, they were all wrapped meticulously in heavy burlap. This wasn't a crime of passion. This was a disposal system. The killer had a spot. He felt safe here. He felt like he owned this highway. The mystery turned into a thriller when the killer began to play games. Shortly after Melissa Barthélemy disappeared, her teenage sister, Amanda, began receiving calls from Melissa's cell phone. The caller was calm. He was vulgar. He told Amanda exactly what he had done to her sister. The FBI traced the pings. The calls were coming from the busiest places on Earth, Times Square and Madison Square Garden. The killer was hiding in plain sight. He was standing in a crowd of thousands, holding the phone of a dead girl, laughing at the police. He knew the signal would be lost in the noise of the city. He wasn't just a killer. He was someone who understood technology. He understood the blind spots of the law. Then the investigation hit a wall. Suffolk County Police Chief James Burke. In a twist that sounds like a movie, Burke blocked the FBI from helping with the case. He hid evidence. He shuttered the investigation. For years, the case went cold because the man in charge of solving it was a man with his own dark secrets. The Gilgo Beach killer was handed a 10-year head start by the very man who should have been hunting him. 2022. A new task force is formed. They go back to the original files, the ones Burke tried to bury. They find a witness statement from Amber Costello's roommate. He remembered a man coming to the house, a massive man, built like an ogre, wearing ugly 1970s-style glasses. And he remembered the car, a first-generation green Chevy Avalanche. Detectives ran a search for that specific car model, registered to a large man in the area. They found a match. Rex Heuermann. Rex wasn't a monster in a shack. He was a prestigious architect with an office on Fifth Avenue in Manhattan. He lived in Massapequa Park, a quiet suburb with a wife and 2 children. He was the guy you'd see on the train reading the Wall Street Journal. But the task force began to look closer. They found his digital footprint. Rex had used burner phones to search for Gilgo Beach killings hundreds of times. He was obsessed with his own work. He had Tinder accounts under fake names. He was still hunting. The police followed Rex for months. They watched him eat a pizza near his office in Manhattan. He threw the crust in a trash can. Undercover officers grabbed it. They compared the DNA from that crust to a single hair found on the burlap used to wrap Megan Waterman 13 years earlier. It was a mitochondrial match. But they found something even more damning. female hairs on the victims that didn't belong to the victims. The DNA proved those hairs belonged to Rex's wife. While his wife was away on vacation, Rex was bringing victims to his family home. He was using his own house as a kill room. He was a family man by day and the most prolific serial killer in Long Island history by night. When they arrested Rex in July 2023, they raided his home. They found a soundproof vault in the basement. They found over 200 firearms. They found a planning document, a digital manual he wrote on how to kidnap, torture, and dispose of bodies without getting caught. Rex Heuermann thought his architecture, his carefully constructed life, would protect him forever. He thought the burlap would rot and the secrets would wash out to sea. But justice has a way of rising with the tide. Today, Rex Heuermann sits in a cell. The architect of ashes is watching his legacy burn. And for the families of the Gilgo Four, the 10-year silence has finally been broken by the sound of a closing prison door. The hunt is over, but the healing is just beginning. Please do follow and subscribe the Black Box Files for more.